Welcome back to the Nourished Home YouTube channel. We are officially in the fall season, so today you're going to come along with me as I share a scratch-made version of one of my favorite childhood meals, Hamburger Helper. This is not only scratch-made, but fits the fall vibe because it involves a butternut squash kind of mac and cheesy feel to it. So that was a cozy, hearty meal, a great kickoff to the cool weather, football season. As you can see here, the leaves have already started to come down, and I wanted to do a fall reset on our deck. This deck actually is off of our bedroom, so we're very fortunate to have that, but it was neglected all summer with cobwebs and leaves and sticks. And we actually have really nice fall weather here, especially midday when the sun is shining back there. It's just such a treat to be able to go back there, hang out on the deck, get sunshine, maybe have a little cup of something, coffee or tea. Sometimes we can even work back there. You can bring your laptop out there for a few minutes before the sun is just too bright. But yeah, it's been neglected all summer. In the summer, there's just tons of bugs, so it's not really my favorite place to hang out. But in the fall, it's really our little place for serenity. So wanted to get that reset. I also, before starting my full day's prep of this butternut squash hamburger helper, I needed to get some bone broth going. I needed to organize the kitchen, and I also made a pumpkin spice latte with coconut milk, which was delicious. You'll see that here in a moment. But the focus for today is, how does one step into that homemaking role in the capacity that I want to, where most of our meals are scratch made. I really center the kitchen as the center of the home, of our health. And how do I balance doing that with still having a full-time job? Now, I am fortunate in that I am mostly remote with my job. I do have to go in for a few hours once or twice a week, but it is not enough to fully disrupt my flow of being in the home most of the time. So understand that when I share these tips, it is coming from the perspective of someone who works remotely, and I do pretty much have flexible working hours. During this time of year, I like to keep organic pumpkin puree on hand. Not pumpkin pie mix, but actual just pumpkin puree. Now, you could easily make this yourself. It's a little bit more involved and time consuming, but if you can find a clean version at your local grocery store, stocking up with that in the fall is great for pumpkin lattes, pumpkin breads, all types of fun pumpkin, fall treats. I really like using coconut milk for coffees and whatnot when I do not have raw milk or the clean almond milk brand that I like. It's great fat content and it's super tasty and creamy. Just read the labels, because not all coconut milks are equal, and especially avoid the refrigerated versions because those tend to have all the extra gunky ingredients in them. The first tip I would give for someone who wants to be a homemaker and make meals from scratch, but also has a full-time job, is to simply not overthink it. It's very easy to follow YouTube channels and other social media pages of full-time homemakers and, seeing how they're able to have animals and a garden and milk their own cow, gather the eggs, etc., make everything from scratch, from the broths to the ferments to the sourdoughs. And that's wonderful. And that is my dream one day, to be able to fully devote myself to that for my family. But as of now, it's a bit of a hybrid version. And I find that if I am overthinking too much about how many things I can pre-prepare, that's when I get a little bit overwhelmed and defeated. So, for me, during the week, being able to cook at least 2 meals a day from scratch, so that's a simple egg breakfast and then, whatever we have for dinner, that's great. I can, still feel fulfilled in homemaking, in nourishing the family, and it doesn't impact, the work that I do have to get done throughout the day for my job. I decided to try a grain-free gnocchi recipe here, and you'll see that we bumped into a real-time kitchen hiccup and how I had to quickly divert plans. But again, that's part of the process, adapting in the kitchen. If a recipe doesn't go right, there's usually a positive that can come from it. It can be saved one way or another. Now, I've had experiences where absolutely could not be saved, but most of the time, something can be done with what you have. The second tip I would give for homemaking or scratch-made food making while having a full-time job is to set time blocks in your day. So if you have to dedicate your time to work, from a 9 to 5 or 10 to 4 or however it lines up, then your morning should be dedicated to some type of prep for the day, whether it's getting breakfast done, getting meat out to thaw for dinner, even if that morning block is throwing a load of laundry in. You don't have to wait for the weekend to do everything if, of course, you have remote flexibility with your job. And I understand that not everybody does, but setting time blocks in your day can not only help with stress management, but keeping you organized, and each time block has a function. You know what you're supposed to be doing. So if from 7 to 9 you are exercising, getting laundry in, making breakfast, that's great. Then if you have to block a chunk of time during the day to work, maybe on a lunch break you can sweep up the kitchen or clean the dishes from breakfast. And then from 4 to 6 or 5 to 7, you can focus on dinner prep. And then the evening can be clean up, resetting the kitchen for the next day, making sure all laundry is not sitting in a washer, it's at least made it to the dryer, straighten up, any common areas that the family hangs out in, and go to bed with your house put together. Tip number 3 would be to utilize either off days or weekends to do the heavy lifting of homemaking. So the deep cleaning, the vacuuming, cleaning all the bathrooms, making sure you have bulk items needed for the week, stocked in the fridge and pantry, getting bone broths going if you have extra bones hanging out in the fridge. Any of those more involved tasks, save that for the weekend and use the weekend as your launch pad, I should say, where everything is set and ready to go and your weekdays are more of a plug and play. This is where the beginning of the gnocchi making, grain-free gnocchi making, went a little south. So I did boil the potatoes and planned to squeeze all the liquid out. I got as much out as I could, but mixing this potato mixture with egg, as you'll see in a minute, it completely disintegrated in the pot. So traditional gnocchi rolling, boiling it in the pot, that didn't work here in this grain-free recipe, but we still had a delicious gnocchi dish to accompany the Butternut Squash Hamburger Helper. Tip number 4 would be to meal plan, even if it's loosely meal planning, saying, okay, I know we're gonna have, ground turkey in some form or fashion on Monday, maybe that will turn into tacos, or I know we're gonna have meatballs on Tuesday, or a whole chicken on Wednesday, or breakfast night on Thursday. Having this laid out, at least in your mind, I know some people write it out, on Sundays and go that route. It will alleviate the burden, the mental burden of, trying to do your job while also holding homemaking values, to a high degree in your life. And you're not sitting there distracted from working and stressed because what are you going to make for dinner? Oh my gosh, do I need to run to the store? Da 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 da. So at least loosely meal planning, if not, sitting down on Sunday or Monday and organizing your fridge and your kitchen for the meals, for that upcoming week. The final tip I would give is you really need to find time to center yourself, whether that's through morning prayer or meditation, a morning exercise, or a walk in the sunshine. If you are go, go, go with essentially 2 full-time jobs, you are going to burn out rather quickly, and that excess energy that could be used spending time with your family or your spouse, it's going to be taken up by feeling stressed, overrun, and overwhelmed. So whatever that is, every day finding time to breathe, get centered, get motivated, and really preserve the important energy, which is of course being there for your family. So yes, boiling the gnocchi did not work out, but I just balled them up, put them on a baking sheet, baked them for about 10 to 15 minutes. I kept my eye on them. You could flip them and bake the other side if you want them both to be golden, both sides to be golden. But I knew that I was going to be topping it with our Butternut Squash Hamburger Helper, so I wasn't too concerned about that. The texture was great. They held up with all that sauce and meaty goodness. The taste was wonderful, and it's helping us get our pasta fix while we are still vastly eliminating and reducing grains in our home. I hope at least 1 or 2 of these tips inspire you to live out your homemaking dreams, even if you are not a full-time homemaker just yet. There are things that we can do each day that kind of spark that desire and fulfill that desire, not only for us, but for the nourishment of our families as well. Homemaking on its own or homemaking while working doesn't have to be the daunting, heavy, over-stressful task that I think a lot of us believe it is to be. So I just encourage exploration in that area. Of course, if that's something that you've been wanting to do, but you feel like you can't yet do it because of a job or a current season of life, there are little things each day that you can do to invite the homemaking spirit into and throughout the home. Thank you all for spending this cozy fall weekend with me. I hope that you will click subscribe, and remember to nourish your body, honor your roots, and thrive naturally.